This is the Electric Newspaper, WBBM Chicago, News Radio 78.
From the World Desk of United Press International, this is Maury Trumbull. American ex-prisoners freed by Hanoi are winging across the South China Sea. The first of 3 medevac plane loads of men is due at Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines within a half hour. Alan Dawson reports the list grew by 1 man.
In a last-minute show of goodwill, the North Vietnamese have given permission for a 116th American prisoner to be released. Officials said the mother of Navy Commander Brian D. Woods of San Diego is very ill, and Woods was added to the prisoners to be released just at the last moment. Alan Dawson, Clark Air Base in the Philippines.
A dispute over procedures for release of communist prisoners in the South was resolved. The communists released, and 27 Americans whose freedom had been delayed by the snarl were due to go free shortly. They'll helicopter to Saigon, then fly on to Clark by medevac plane. In a few days, all the men should be back with their families in the States. This is UPI World News.
North Vietnam have arrived at Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines. They arrived at 3:12 Eastern Standard Time. That's about 15 minutes ago. And we'll undoubtedly have more to report to you on that on the 4 o'clock news. Meanwhile, we continue here with Night Flight 760. And Jackie Gleason, the orchestra, from his Opiate d'Amour.
A military color guard representing the 4 branches of the service: Air Force, Marines, Navy, and Army. They walk up slowly. First man off will be Navy Captain Jeremiah Denton. He's a pilot. He's been a prisoner for 7.5 years. Here he comes now. He's got a big smile on his face. He's 48 with 7 children. He salutes Rear Admiral Noel Thriller. His eldest son also served in Vietnam while he was a prisoner. A few words are being exchanged. Now they're moving up to the microphone. Captain Denton and Rear Admiral Schuyler. We are honored to have the opportunity to serve our country under difficult circumstances. We are profoundly grateful to our Commander-in-Chief and to our nation for this day. God bless America. God bless America. Commander Alvarez, the first Navy pilot. The first pilot has been shot down over North Vietnam. He salutes Admiral Schuyler. Shoemaker, Commander Shoemaker is coming off the plane now. He's saluting. Commander Shoemaker is 39. He's a Navy pilot. He was shot down while on a combat mission over the north. The base of the ramp, between the ramp and the blue hospital buses, there's a red carpet. A red carpet has been put out for these first released prisoners of war. There are about 800 people, a crowd 200 feet away from me at the end of the flight line. Most of them are women and children who are out here to welcome the prisoners of war. Before, they put up a sign that said, "Welcome home, beautiful men." And then they brought out an even larger sign which read, "God loves you, we love you, Jesus loves you." And it was decorated with a Valentine's heart. They are waiting now for this first bus to pull away before bringing out the rest of the prisoners of war.
And then we'll return. We pause 5 seconds. This is the CBS Radio Network.
This is WJR Detroit.
This is Mitchell Krauss, CBS News, New York, as we resume our live and continuous coverage of the return. Operation Homecoming, the prisoners' return to Clark Air Base in the Philippines. Up to this time, one plane has disembarked its carrying crew of 40 of American prisoners of war and the escorts. The second plane has just landed at Clark Air Base, and preparations are being made for another 40 former American prisoners, we really should call them. They are now free men. They will be disembarking in just a few moments on the red carpet that has been set up here and past the battery of microphones and the color guard that we saw from plane number one. And if the plane number one scenario is to be repeated, there will be a spokesman assigned from this plane. He will say a few words, as we heard at the beginning of the passage of the men from the first plane when Navy Captain Denton said how grateful he was to all that he was free.
The red carpet just about being put down for the men. The slight hold up as they get the ramp in place of the plane. The plane is just in front of me, about 50 feet away. The red carpet is being laid down, and here comes the third prisoner of war on the second plane. Colonel Reisner. He's 48, and he's been a prisoner of war for more than 7 years. His wife Kathleen and their 5 sons live in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. During the last presidential campaign, his son worked for Senator McGovern. His wife supported President Nixon. He's been selected to say a few words. Air Force Colonel Robinson Brisner shakes hands with Rear Admiral Guyler, and now they're both up to the microphone. Thanks. The country you served so well, you and your men. We're so glad to have you. It's hard to express. Thank you in behalf of all of us. Thank you, sir. It's almost too wonderful to express on behalf of all of the other men who have been prisoners. I would like to thank you all and our president and the American people for bringing us home to freedom again. Thank you ever so much. That was Lieutenant Colonel, Air Force Colonel Robinson Brisner. Big smile on his face as he said, thank you. Salute for the Rear Admiral Schuyler. After they got onto the airplane and we closed the doors, there was hugging of each other, hugging of stewardesses, and a tremendous elation on their faces. Tears in some eyes, yes. But they were certainly tears of happiness. And after we broke ground and they were able to get up and move around, they shook hands and patted each other on the back. They were happy to get an American cigarette. They went and talked to the people who were in bed, the 3 who came back in bed. There was just a tremendous happiness that hovered throughout the airplane.
That was Briefing Officer Lieutenant Colonel Dick Abel. Now let's go back to Clark in a moment. There is a briefing going on at Planeside.
Philippine time, and they finished boarding approximately 10 minutes later.
This is WBBM Chicago.
Now the plane has stopped. The engines will be shut off shortly, and as soon as we have a bit of quiet, we'll go back to Bill McLaughlin on the landing strip at Clark Air Base in the Philippines.
The ramp and the red carpet are being brought up to the plane. And before, with the first 2 flights from Hanoi, we'll have Rear Admiral Guyler and Lieutenant General Moore on hand. And the color guard, American flag, moving up the plane side. The first POW off the plane will be Navy Captain James Mulligan. He's 46 years old, was shot down 6 years ago. His wife and their 7 sons live in Virginia Beach, Virginia. The hospital bus is also rolled out. Red carpet is there. And Rear Admiral Guyler and General Moore have come over to the plane. It's expected that Captain Mulligan will have a few words to say to us. I can see Captain Mulligan now at the entrance to the plane. He's just about to come down the ramp. William Tinkle. Joe Coffey has come down now. 6 miles another minute. Captain Brothers comes down. Yes. All the men have...
It has been our privilege to serve you Americans these many years. And during this time, our faith in our God, our country, and our families has never wavered. Today I'd like to thank the President of the United States and the people of the United States and our families for maintaining their faith with us and making this wonderful day possible. Thank you very much.
All the men are wearing white suede jackets and blue pants. On the aircraft on the way from Hanoi back to Clark, and what you've seen here, this has truly been a homecoming. When we arrived at Geelong, and our first returnee came on board, the first comment they made was, "Wow, smell that perfume."
Concludes our special coverage of the first day, the first plane loads of American prisoners released by the North Vietnamese, 116 in all flying, and an operation that was well nigh perfect as we saw it, and as it was seen at Clark Air Force Base. The timing was perfect, and as was pointed out, complete cooperation by the North Vietnamese as contrasted perhaps with the scene in the South. Our thanks at this point to my colleagues Bert Quint and Bill McLaughlin in the Philippines, to Bruce Dunning in Saigon. This has been a CBS News special report, Operation Homecoming, The Prisoners Return, part of our continuing coverage of the release of U.S. prisoners of war. This is Mitchell Krauss, CBS News, New York.
WCBS News time now is 4:59.
Proceeding has been a live recording as recorded from the CBS Radio Network, the homecoming of the first American prisoners of war from North Vietnam. It was recorded on this February 12, 1973, early Monday morning, and this is Charles Jordan signing off at 5 a.m.